Hello everybody, I hope you all are doing fine. It's been a rough couple of months for a lot of families, especially with families who are trying to juggle work and kids and homework, and also with kids, other therapies. I have a younger one and I know it's really hard logging into Zoom and logging off and constantly having meetings all day. That's why I decided to do this video. I found it really helpful as a speech therapist. When everything got into lockdown, I was like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? And being a person who is not technologically savvy, I wasn't really good with the computers. I had to ask my older son to help me out, figure out how to download the Zoom and figure out how to do the meeting IDs and all the other stuff. Then the most important part of that was I was struggling to find materials to share with my kids on the Zoom meetings. So when you're working face to face, you have everything in your office and you can do stuff with the kids. But now when you're stuck at home, I was like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? What do I need to do? What can I use from my immediate environment to help the child with their speech and language goals? So I came up with a couple of things. I've been using it for many, many years, but now I had to just adapt to them, adjust it and figure out how I could use them in the most functional way with that child. And each of the childs have different goals. So now for me to prep for each of the child would be like a lot of time consuming task. So I decided to select an activity which I could use it with all the kids from different age groups working on different goals. So you could use bubbles, you could read books to the child, you can use Play-Doh. I made a whole bunch of lists, using farm animals, using puppets, surprise boxes, sticker charts, use of transportation toys, maybe making a slime. Anything you have in your house, you can use it for the sessions. Doesn't matter what age group the child is. The most important part is how you use that material or whatever you have in your environment to work on the child's goal. So today we are going to work on or talk about two of the things. I have a blog on that on my website, which is bgspeechtherapy.com, and you can look at it and see how I use those materials in my sessions and what were some of the goals I focused on. So today we'll talk about the books, how you can use the books with your child during the sessions or during the summer break. Now, since the schools are not going to be there, a lot of kids are not going to be receiving therapy. So the best part would be how you could utilize those things from your environment. The second thing is how you could use the bubbles. So we're going to talk about books first. So you can sit and read a book to your child, or you can sit and read it together. Or what I usually do with my kids is I think about the books they could have at their house. I usually ask the parent what kind of books they have. So one of the books most of the kids I work with, the preschoolers, have The Very Hungry Caterpillar. So I found it really helpful, being the summertime, springtime, talking about bugs and insects, going theme-wise. I brought this book up and I was able to share it with my child on a Zoom session. I would usually tell the parent to have the book ready with the child, so we would read it together while we were flipping pages and talking about different things. So you could label all of these. You can talk about what the caterpillar was doing. You can even predict what's going to happen to caterpillar. So all these questions can be asked while you're reading the book. So you're talking about nouns, you're talking about action, what the caterpillar is doing, what's going to happen, why did he do that, or what does he build around him. So at the same time, you're not just labeling everything, but you're thinking in your child's mind, oh, what is he going to do? What's going to come next? What's going to happen next? You're also working on numbering. So, it's 1, 2, 3, which is more like an early literacy skill. So counting numbers, identifying letters, finding rhyming words. Those are some of the things you can do with your books. One of the other books which I really like is The Goodnight Moon, because it's only pictures, and I usually try not to read the book to the child, but just by looking at the pictures, have the child interpret what's going on. So what do you see in this picture? I see 2 cats. Where are the cats? They're on the rug. What's hanging up there? Those are socks and the mittens. What do you think is this? A lot of people don't have fireplace in their houses, so you can talk about this. So there's a lot of stuff you can talk just by reading books to your child. This is mainly for the kids who are at a younger age. Then I also have this hide and seek forest where the bunny is looking for his friend. So you can play a game like a knock knock game. Knock knock, who's there? And then you can say who is hiding. It's a hedgehog. Where is the hedgehog hiding? He's hiding behind the leaves. So you are working on the prepositions at the same time. So you're working on nouns, you're working on verbs, you're working on prepositions, you're talking about how it looks, adjectives. At times what I have done is I have used this book and we played a guessing game. Oh, who's hiding behind in that cave? Do you think you can guess who it is? Let's go see. Knock, knock. Knock, knock. Who do you think it is? Who lives in the cave? Do you think it's a lion? No. Who do you think is in there? Who likes to eat honey? I think it's a brown bear. So these are some of the things you can do with your child while you're reading book. Now, as we go to older age groups, I use a lot of high-level books with kids depending on what grade they are in. So what I can do is I can take a book, I can read a short story or a paragraph from that book, and then we look for other things. What's the main idea of the story? What is the author trying to tell you? What are some of the details you see in that book? Some of the kids have goals where they have to find 2 details or 3 details depending on what the main idea of the story is. Sometimes we do more of inferring work. Okay, what do you think the author is trying to tell you? What do you infer from this passage? So those are different things you can work using books, using articles. I have kids who have who like to read Sports Illustrated. So we go get magazines or books from your house and we read that together, and then we go from there. Okay, what was the author trying to tell you? Give me 3 qualities about so and so player. So these are some goals you can work at a higher level. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the bubbles, which is the most favorite. Doesn't matter what age group the kids are. My older son still loves bubbles, doesn't matter. So what are some things you can do with bubbles at a lower age group? Okay, I can use my bubbles and do a fun activity. We sing songs. Okay, bubbles, bubbles, here are bubbles. What do we do now? Bubbles, bubbles. So what can we do with bubbles? You can stomp bubbles, you can clap bubbles, you can pop bubbles. So you can make up any verbs you want. You can have the child say pop bubble or ask for requesting, do you want more bubbles? The child will say, I want more bubbles. So it depends how you add up, how you can increase the length of the sentence for the child. So there's tons of things you can do with little childs. I have used bubbles, to work on articulation goals. If I want the child to say the sound ka ka ka, I'll tell the child, why don't you say the k k k sound 3 times, and then we'll pop a bubble. So it works as a reinforcement too. So these are some things you can do at a lower age group. For the older age group, what I did was they found the bubbles theme to be a little bit silly, but when it came to making the bubbles, the kids were super excited. So I've used this activity with my 2nd graders, my 3rd, my 4th, my 5th, and my 6th graders. And what we did is we made bubbles. So I had the child, get all the ingredients ready. I usually email the parents, let them know what they want beforehand, and they had all the materials ready for the activity. Next, I usually don't give them the steps beforehand because I want them to listen to me and follow directions. So I may say, what are some of the ingredients you need to make your bubbles? The child may say, oh, I have water, I have a dish soap, I have corn syrup, whatever ingredients you're using. There's so many activities. You can just put up, how to make bubbles on YouTube, and you'll get tons of DIY, whatever do-it-yourself activities you can make from the bubbles. So I found this very helpful with the child. Next, I'll tell them, what should we do next? What do you think? How much quantity you need? So you're working on the math skills, measuring them. You're working on sequencing. What comes first? What comes next? What comes last? So let's pour some water. So you're working on it, on the words, making big sentences. What could be another word for so-and-so? So you are trying to use as much language as you can with the child depending on the child's goal. I have used this bubble activity with higher grades, and we have worked on sequencing. So the child will have to follow the directions, make the bubbles. While making bubbles, we would think about how much quantity do we need? What will happen if we put more than what is required? What do you think is going to happen to the bubbles? And we try to experiment different things using the ingredients we have, and then we test it out. Oh, this bubbles didn't turn out good. Why? Why do you think it happened? And then I would have the child write it down. So I was also working on the writing goals besides recalling information, sequencing them, and putting them down on a paper. The child would often write it down, I made bubbles, you would see simple sentence structures. So I was like, how can you expand that? How can you make it like a big boy sentence or a big girl sentence? And the child will start working on that. I have worked on parts of speech. I have worked on punctuations and periods and commas. And you see that grammatical mistakes in their writing. So you can work on all these goals while you're doing a simple activity of making bubbles. It's fun, it's quick, it's less messy, and the kids can use it later after they're done with the sessions. It also involves, answering WH questions, inferencing, you're working on initiating. So you're also working on pragmatic goals, basically how you can use the language. So the child can ask, oh, what do I need to do first? So kind of the child is initiating the conversation and trying to stay on the topic while finishing up the activity. They are also trying to clarify information. So I may go, I just put half a spoon of cornstarch. What do you think what's going to happen? And they'll be like, no, let me make sure what I have in my recipe, I only need 1/4. So they're trying to make sure what information they have is the right one. So you could use just a simple thing as bubbles with your child at home and work on a variety of language goals. Doesn't matter what age group your child is, what your child can work on. The main thing is how you use that activity for that child. So I have used bubbles. I have read tons of books with the kids. I have a whole bunch of lists which I can go on. I have used farm and zoo animals with the child, blocks, even with the little kids. I have used just blocks to play Jenga. So we would play Jenga face to face. I have used Play-Doh, transportation toys, puppets, stickers, wind-up toys with the kids love it, especially the younger ones. I have also used scene pictures, different pictures of different scenes, in a zoo, at the beach, and we played like an I Spy games with that and worked on labeling, guessing, finding colors, finding different things in the pictures, and I found it really, really helpful. There's a tons of things you can do with your child, no matter where they are. It's just a matter of how you use the things from your house. I'm going to again do another video next week, but this time I'm going to talk about how you can use the surprise box. I actually tried a surprise box game with my kids and they absolutely loved it. So I'll talk about it in my next session. And then also I wanted to talk about how you can use immediate things in your house, like boxes, toilet tissue rolls, paper plates, anything you have to play with your child and build up their language. This is it from me now. Hopefully you got some information on how to use these things at your home. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. My email address is purvigandhi25@gmail.com. You can check out my blog on pgspeechtherapy.com. I have all the information on how to use the bubbles and how you can read the books to your child. I also have a list of books if you would like what is appropriate for each grade. I can put that on too. And please feel free to call me or email me and I'll be more than happy to help you guys. All right, hopefully you got some information and you can try those bubbles, making bubbles at home with your kids and have fun with it. All right, bye.